The Haftarah text for Yom Kippur is one of the most well-known texts of all of our liturgy. Isaiah, the prophet Isaiah, tells us, in this moment of Yom Kippur, of fasting, self-affliction, Isaiah says, you are doing this all wrong. God does not, according to Isaiah, pay much attention to our fasting as we refrain from eating, we refrain from drinking. Some of us fast in other ways as well. We refrain from wearing leather or perfumes or cologne. Now, these fasting traditions are very important to us, but according to the text of Isaiah, they are not the main thing. Rabbi Harold Kushner writes about these traditions of fasting as being entirely about ourselves, preparing ourselves for the day of Yom Kippur and the work of Cheshbon HaNefesh, of taking stock of our lives. Rabbi Kushner calls it exercise for our souls. We can do what no other creature on earth can do, says Rabbi Kushner. We can say no to our own instincts. We can be hungry, we can choose not to eat. We can be angry and choose not to lash out. We can be attracted, but we can refrain. We can restrain ourselves. So these traditional forms of fasting are very important. They form the core of what Yom Kippur is about. And yet, Isaiah says it is wrong. You're doing it all wrong. The kind of fasting that Isaiah does prescribe for us, it's very different. In his own words, he says, is not this the fast that God desires? To feed the hungry, to bring the needy into your own home, to break the bonds of oppression. Well, you might ask, how is that a fast exactly? From what do I refrain? Well, this day, it does help us refrain or remove ourselves from something. We remove ourselves from daily life, from daily needs, and from the pressures of the ordinary, everyday world. And when we do Yom Kippur, especially when we're together, we focus on what it is about life that really matters, when the clutter and the noise of life fades into the background. I feel it most keenly on Yom Kippur afternoon, when many people stay when we're in the building, but we do not have organized services. Some of us sit in the library, some attend our classes or speakers, some simply meditate in the sanctuary or sit to listen to beautiful music. Whatever we do, time moves slowly in those moments, and it feels like a fast. It's not a fast from food, although this is about the time we become aware of the hunger in our stomachs, but rather we become aware of so many things when we aren't thinking about food. Isaiah reminds us that when we focus on those most important things, we become aware of the needs around us and our responsibilities. Some argue that in contemporary society, we should offer a different kind of fast on Yom Kippur, something that we might give up that would help us become more aware of the world around us in a society when food and security are things we take for granted. What if, on this day, we were to take a fast from something far more vital to the modern world? What if we fasted from social media? What if Yom Kippur offered us a fast day from screens? Of course, this year it would be quite challenging. But in a normal world, and perhaps next year, we are so accustomed to living with these screens. Screens are ubiquitous in our life. Our attention is constantly drawn to online connections that we feel through social media. In today's society, we have access to hundreds, if not thousands, of individuals from our past, people that we know today, and we risk losing out if we miss even a single post from them, or a single video, or an article that one posts. What if we took a break, just on Yom Kippur, and focused on connecting with what was right in front of us? Would we perhaps feel more keenly the kinship of those in our own city who are hurting, who want for food every other day of the year, Or perhaps we would notice those who lack stable housing or risk eviction each month. Some rabbis this year are suggesting that their congregations take on fasting in one of these new and creative manners this year. What if we were to fast from social media for just this one day? What if we started now? Another example of fasting in a creative manner would be to fast from waste this year. One of my colleagues is doing that with his entire congregation today. The reality for me is that I've always been inspired by those who can manage to limit the garbage they produce and even their recycling through a more conscientious approach to the way that we use plastic and paper and other goods. What if we used this day and the concept of fasting to think more deliberately about the waste that we produce, our responsibility not only to each other, but to our environment and the planet? These are issues that are rising in priority for our society, and perhaps the ancient text of Isaiah, which speaks literally about hunger and homelessness, the chains of oppression, might speak to us more powerfully if we knew that Isaiah was speaking to us about these issues also. God wants us to take care of each other. God wants us to take care of the planet. And if we do, according to today's Haftarah text, God will say, Hineni, here I am. And our cities, our planet will be like a well-watered garden, lush and verdant. Our tradition and our community will seem to be a spring of unfailing fresh water, and all will know peace.